On the night of July 5, 2025, the Russian Federation was engulfed in flames. From midnight until 10 a.m., fire alarms continued to sound in various regions of Russia. Smolensk, Belgorod, Bryansk, Kursk, Saratov, the Chuvash Republic, and Voronezh were targeted. Hundreds of drones were scattered across these regions of Russia. But the main targets were two large Russian airbases. Ukraine's long-range drone swarms rained fire on two separate Russian strategic airbases at the same time. One of the targets was the Engels 2 strategic bomber airbase in the Saratov region. This is about 700 kilometers away from the front lines. The main target was the Borisoglebsk tactical airfield, located 450 kilometers northwest of the Ukrainian border.
Moscow was greatly surprised because one of the runways that was attacked was Engels, from which Su-95 and Su-160 strategic bombers take off.
The other was Borisoglebsk, a defensive stronghold for the Su-34, Su-35S, and Su-30SM fleets in the Voronezh Oblast. In Borisoglebsk, warehouses storing fighter jets, bombs, and other military equipment were targeted. The explosions in Borisoglebsk continued from 2 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now, we will analyze how Ukraine could have carried out these two critical simultaneous attacks, with what weapons and tactics, as well as the overall story of the operation.
The night of July 5, 2025, just before 2 a.m., here, a pair of Su-34s preparing for takeoff had just started their engines.
8 to 9 DJI-based FPVs were following a low-altitude approach path along the runway. Each had a thermite sphere the size of a hand grenade under its nose.
It was claimed that one of the FPVs collided directly with the wing root of a parked Su-35S, causing the engine cowling to rupture and ignite immediately. Among the details cited were that the thermite, heating aluminum and iron to over 2,000 degrees Celsius per second, caused the jet fuel to explode with a deafening roar equivalent to the screams of 50 people.
The column of hot air may have also shaken two Su-30SMs loaded with controlled explosives. The explosions were very violent. This caused a serious shock. The real surprise in Borisoglebsk was the bullet-winged package coming from the satellite. The Sokol 300 class turbojet drones, sent as a second wave immediately behind the UAV pack, carried small but point-piercing D-55 coefficient miniature bombs under their noses.
The special feature of these bombs was that they could be packed tightly enough to fit into a truck.
Despite a budget of only 250 kilograms, Ukraine managed to divert 12 Sokol drones from the Astrakhan direction and infiltrate them into Voronezh. Two of the Sokol drones were detected by the Pantsir S-1 radar of the Close Air Defense System. The Pantsir fired missiles, but they were misguided and missed the drone, which was flying straight ahead.
Reaching speeds of 700 kilometers per hour, the Sokol drones opened their bomb doors at the end of their flight, and the pipe breaks scattered like mushroom clouds.
The initial strike of the large-scale operation was carried out by FPV drones. These bombs triggered the guided KAB-500L and FAB-250 smart bombs parked next to the downed aircraft. A warehouse containing guided bombs, a combat training aircraft, and possibly other aircraft were hit, the General Staff emphasized. According to a report by the independent Russian news agency Astra, residents in the Voronezh region reported hearing up to 10 explosions at around 2 a.m. The NASA Fire Information Resource Management System, FIRMS, detected a fire near the airport. These images made headlines in international media outlets on the same day with the headline, "Ukraine tests new range capabilities." Moscow Times blogs wrote that the attack was a sign of the Tempest 2.0 plan. The list of casualties on the Borisoglebsk side did not provide a full count until the first light of that morning.
Local sources cited by global media reported that the damage was extensive.
In addition to possible damage to Russian bombers and fighter jets, laser-guided FAB-1500-M54 bombs were stored in warehouses at the airbase. Analysts were lucky that there was no domino explosion because the explosive devices were stored in piston rack systems, but the warehouse was disabled. On the other hand, such a disruption in the Voronezh region, considered Russia's central aircraft spare parts depot, means a 2 to 3 week delay in the Air Force's southern operations. It appears that many drones and equipment were used in the simultaneous attacks. But the real surprise was the UJ-26, a very important drone with a range of 800 kilometers that took part in the attack. The drone features a unique duck-like design with smaller front wings and a rear-mounted engine, giving it the appearance of flying backward. While the weight of the warhead has not been disclosed, it is estimated to be comparable to the Iranian Shahed 131, which is believed to weigh between 10 and 15 kilograms, 22 to 33 pounds. Open sources estimate the cost of each UJ-26 at approximately $95,000. The story heading to Engels took an unexpected turn with these types of UAVs. As alarm bells rang in Borisoglebsk, a different red dot appeared on the screen at Engels airport. Operators at the Ukrainian drone control station in Kremenchuk entered the launch command. On the screens, the linear route of the UJ-26, Ukraine's hidden gem, became visible. Swarms of drones took off from Ukrainian territory and spread out toward the Russian interior. The attack aircraft developed by Ukrejet features a new modification, including a thermal imaging camera, real-time video transmission until impact, and a high-quality data transmission channel provided by an unidentified communication system. With a range of 800 kilometers and the ability to strike targets 3 meters apart, it falls squarely between the cruise missile and drone classes. 4 Tu-95s were parked at the northern port of Engels Airbase, while 2 Tu-160 White Swans were on standby at the southern end with minimum takeoff load. The tower radar did not detect the small target flying at an altitude of 1,000 meters. The UJ-26 had a wingspan of 3.7 meters and a radar cross-section larger than that of a cargo seagull, but the tinfoil mixture on its body coating was designed to produce a bloated signal that would fool Russian air defenses. It disappeared from the radar screen, lost in the terrain echo. In the final 6 kilometers, the UJ-26 climbed, revealing the rocket-propelled warhead beneath it. The warhead was a combination of armor-piercing and fragmentation, first tearing through the metal hull upon impact, then dispersing tungsten balls in the second phase. The UJ-26 locked onto the left inner engine of the Tu-95MS aircraft on the runway. The explosion shook the entire airbase within seconds, sending thick blue-white flames into the cabin. It was claimed that Russian aircraft were damaged in the intense heat. There was incredible damage on the runway, but damage to the aircraft could not be confirmed.
Engels Airbase had been struck multiple times in 2022 and 2023, with Moscow each time attributing the attacks to blind luck.
The simultaneous burning of 2 airbases has fueled public suspicion of an unstoppable leak. Russian social media channels discuss the blind spots of the S-400 systems. According to a report by the British Defense Attaché, the number of strategic sorties at the bombed airbase fell to a third of the usual number for a month, and a barrage of missiles on the southern front was delayed.
So how did Ukraine manage it?
A third of the strike drones' flight path took place in Russian airspace, under electronic jamming. It is claimed that the UJ-26's fuselage contains a passive direction-finding chipset, which, when GLONASS or GPS signals are blocked, uses a quad inertial measurement unit and photo comparison algorithm to continue its flight path. The image matching stream is transmitted not through a Starlink tunnel, but via a narrow, high-frequency RF channel, resembling a carbon dioxide line. As a result, Russian Triada electronic warfare radars, which detect signals, cannot locate the UJ-26. 24 hours after the attack, the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense's official account issued a sharp statement. "The missiles that hit us were launched from Engels. Now our missiles are in Engels." This single sentence effectively countered both propaganda and Western calls for assistance.
Ukrainian local media sources reported that Russia responded by deploying Su-30SM patrols over the Saratov region.
However, pilot reports leaked from personal blogs indicated that the patrols could not operate continuously for more than 5 to 8 days. The fuel cost of a UJ-26 is perhaps 1/10 of a Su-30SM sortie hour.
In the long run, it is clear who will benefit from the cost-effectiveness balance.
Ground forces along the Donetsk-Luhansk front also benefited from this air victory.
The barrage of Kh-101 cruise missiles to be launched by Tu-95s was postponed, and the supply line stretching from Izium to Kramatorsk experienced 3 days of missile silence. This period gave Ukraine the luxury of renewing its trenches, expanding minefields, and changing HIMARS positions.
According to analyst Mykola Bykov, a single drone dropped on a strategic bombing base means 3 days of respite on the front.
The expectation that long-range attacks will increase towards the interior of Russia is straining the Kremlin's logistics. The Federal Aviation Agency told the Nedelia newspaper that the Engels Borisoglebsk repair schedule was 90 days.
That means a 50% reduction in 2 160 patrols over the Black Sea front. In that case, the real gain for the UJ-26 is not just the plane that allegedly exploded, but months of fuel shortages.
After the incident, Russia sent Pantsir batteries to the Tula region and a new S-300 battalion to Astrakhan. But this is a typical reaction to cover up the traces of the incoming missile. There are clues as to what the Ukrainian side is planning next.
The next batch is expected to include the UJ-26's running brother, the Yavir X 2 USV Marine drone, and the air-launched Sokol 400 mixed package.
In this scenario, coastal defense targets will likely be softened first, followed by FPV parachute hybrid bombs landing on the runway from the air. While future scenarios are being discussed, Ukrainian media has depicted victory as a chess piece in the sky. As a pillar of flame rose in Saratov, fighter jets with broken wings in Voronezh gave the people of Kiev a sense of prevention rather than defense.
In impromptu interviews, an elderly man said, "When the Tu-95s came, we went down with sirens. Now they are hiding with sirens."
For social scientists, the moral equation is that simple. In summary, Ukraine struck 2 bases on the same night. In summary, Ukraine struck 2 bases in the same night. The ripple effect on the battlefield is significant. The UJ-26 and Sokol 300 drones cut through the defense line, traveling nearly 800 kilometers. The Sokol's range already exceeds 3,000 kilometers. Both drones utilize their range capabilities exceptionally well. Russian air defense was breached, and warehouses at airbases were damaged. Kyiv is no longer calculating based on a 300-kilometer range, but has added 800 kilometers to the equation. These are not one-night shows. They are the divisible multipliers of the new war arithmetic. Engels' fireball and the Su-34 lying on its side at Borisoglebsk left yellow phosphorus stains on Russia's myth of air superiority.
And as long as those stains remain, it seems that new air defense plans will be drawn up every day in Moscow, while new red lines will be added to the flight paths of the UJ-26 and Sokol 300 in Kiev.
Thank you for watching.